recorded live.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. As Earth Day is upon us, it should be allowed that most of us should take time to reflect on this wonderful planet that we live on. Although most of the time we go about our busy days really self-concerned about what we're going to be able to do next. Will we be able to get ahead? How can we dig out from being behind? And what can we do to steward ourselves on this wonderful planet that we sometimes take for granted as being an unending abundance of natural resources? Of course, there's been many alarms, things such as global warming and the depletion of the fossil fuels. Where do we start to be able to pay the kind of respect that this wonderful planet that holds our lives dearly in its hands to go to next? On our program today, we're going to be joined by a guest who for more than 30 years has been offering people both in the United States and abroad immediate stability, clarity, and guidance through her readings. She has produced a wonderful book on how we can learn to pay respect to the earth, which is simply entitled Earth Ways. It's healing medicine for the soul. And I'd like to welcome spiritual intuitive Miss Sonja Grace to the Beyond 50 radio program. Sonja, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Daniel. It's nice to be with you today.
It must be a wonderful life for you to be able to do what it is that you do, helping not only people to, be able to heal themselves, but to realize what their greater contribution is, not just to others, but to the wonderful planet that we live on.
It's true. I love my job. I love being able to be at service for people around the world. I feel that it's, at this point in my life, basically all I can do, and helping people to become more aware of their connection to the earth and the energies in the earth is what this book, Earthways Healing Medicine for the Soul, is all about. It's connecting people to the earth.
Mm-hmm. Now, Sonja, it's interesting. I was just listening the other day to a program, and the topic they were talking about was alkalizing water and all the wonderful benefits that come along with this. And, of course, usually along with all of this, toward the very end, there seems to be a sales pitch. And one of the things that really occurred to me is that it's quite interesting as we people here on this planet would take a natural resource such as water. We find a way to basically corral it, create a toll gate, and then sell it to ourselves. And I started thinking to myself, how much longer does, I guess, this sort of potential insanity continue? I mean, it's pretty much at a pretty interesting point as it is. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I feel that we've really disengaged from the earth in that since technology has come into play, we all have lived on the planet prior to our technological era and really worked with the earth. I mean, we farmed. We were much more connected, as in there was sidewalks and, pavement and everything. We were living on the earth. And our energy in our body, in our auric field, is constantly moving, and so is the earth. And so we're connecting with that energy. Being on the earth, connecting with the ground, actually is doing a lot more than just, it feels good to lie here on the grass. I mean, there's a lot more going on. And people have gotten so far from that they've also gotten very far from being able to hear the water. The water speaks to us, so does the planet. All aspects of earth is in communication with our souls, our beings. And people have gotten away from that, and that's why I created these prayers and ceremonies for people to do to help them get reconnected with this planet. Because I agree with you, we keep altering things to a point where, we're forgetting what we're doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And in your book, Earthways, as you talk about your these ceremonies, that's really a key factor here, is that we tend to get caught up in what I would consider to be superficial rituals for the day. For instance, you may get up in the morning, your morning coffee is going, the next step is you're picking up the paper, You think about just that particular ritual right there alone. So you're picking up something that was hopefully recycled, but most likely it may not have been. You pick up and immediately you infiltrate your thoughts with the goings on of the day or yesterday or the day before. You drink your coffee. You think about what your day is ahead of you as you're slugging through something like this, and realizing, it could be, for instance, a father who actually stays at home and thinks, I've got to get the kids off to school. There's, practice later on in the afternoon after school. Then there's the various meetings the father may have to go to. On the other hand, the mother, is going through the same ritual. Maybe there's some idle chit-chat, but for the most part, they're really not present there for each other. They're thinking more about their days and how they dreadfully have to trudge through something like this.
Correct.
Now, in your book, what's really fascinating to me is that you actually create a different sort of ceremony that really I can sense that even if people were to read this aloud, put the paper away in the morning and read one of these aloud, that it really begins to vibrate the soul within music. And I think it would actually change a person's day if they were to go about this as a different ritual, if not, every day, then say, once a week or 2 or 3 times a week. Tell us about this.
Well, I think that's really important that we have these opportunities. That's what I tried to create in my book, opportunities to connect with the earth, that people are rushing about and busy, as you were describing, in their lives. I created some of these prayers and ceremonies for people specifically who live in cities that can't, get to a piece of ground. So there's a prayer for a plant, and prayer for the shower, the water. There's a ceremony for water in my book that's just exquisite, that anyone can do anywhere, because we are limited as to what we can get to as far as open space and ground, and is there a park, or do I live in a place where I have a yard, or maybe someone lives in a high-rise and there is no earth ground around them. It doesn't mean you can't connect to the earth through the sidewalk or through the asphalt. The earth is the earth. And people have forgotten that we worshipped our planet. Our history centuries and centuries ago was of a worship of this earth, because the earth has a being. The earth, the goddess, the earth mother, however you want to term that, there is a being in this planet, a soul being, as we have souls in our body, that is the energy of the earth. It's much more complex. This is a really big, statement to make. It's certainly nothing new. People have understood this for a very long time. I'm simply wanting to re-spark that in people and help people to understand the memory, the karmic history that everyone has with this planet, because we're all creating karma together, no matter if we're participating in recycling or not. As a species, we're creating karma for the earth.
I couldn't agree with you more. I remember some years ago when I was with a friend of mine, and we were just taking a walk, and I said, how'd you like to feel something different that you may not have felt before? She says, okay, sure, what are you talking about? And I said, watch this. And I went up and I just put my arms around a tree and I just held it. And I'm sure that as traffic was passing by, she might have thought there for a minute, boy, you're kind of maybe off your rocker a little bit here. And I said, now I want you to come and do this. And at first she was kind of reluctant. I said, no, don't worry. I promise. Just go put your arms around a tree and only let go when you naturally feel like that's something you want to do, And she did. And it was probably 15 or 20 minutes. I was starting to think, I might have to pry this poor girl off of this tree. Maybe it's time to go here.
Yes.
But anyway, so she, did that, and you could just see this sort of glow and this smile about her after a while. It was as though she became childlike just from this simple thing here. And so as we walked, I began to ask her, so what happened? And she said, at first I felt this was kind of silly, but all of a sudden I could almost feel this love and this energy, and after a while I could swear I could hear this tree talking to me as though to thank me for not only noticing it, but for putting its arms around me, and I almost felt as though I was being hugged back. And I said, now, isn't that an incredible feeling? Imagine what it would have been like in an old growth forest for you.
Exactly. That's a fabulous story. And, you know, I know that there's a lot of people in the world who feel that all of the hype and, you know, attention to the environment and global warming is just a bunch of hooey. And I can't stress enough that what I get in my work and what you know, all the things that I receive in terms of information and message is we really are at a critical state on the planet, and that we really, really need to get it together. This is my contribution. This is my way of saying, okay, we need to get it together, which means we all need to start listening to this planet. We all need to start hearing what is going on, how much pain she really is in, and how can we help. Because our whole reason for being here is that we are the caretakers of this beautiful place. We are her caretakers. And if we aren't doing our job to take care of this planet, then, you know, she becomes ill. Just as, you know, we don't take care of our children, they can get sick. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. We have to step up and do our part. And people ask me all the time, well, you know, I don't have time to go sit on a boat and protest this or that. You know, of course, none of us do. You know, thank God for Greenpeace and the different organizations that do these things. But the point is that by simply being aware of your energy and, you know, sending love from your heart down into the earth, you know, it will help. Any of that work helps because we have so much ability to change things through our energy and our intention. And people don't realize how much energy they have. It's like a huge storehouse inside their hearts that they can shift and move and change what is happening on this planet. And there is nothing that is more powerful than love. And I mean that energetically, I mean that physically, mentally, emotionally. That is the most powerful element that we are born here with. And to embody and to bring through that divine love and let that energy that is coming pouring down through the universe meet in our hearts from the earth energy that comes up through our legs. You know, that's the magic is right there in the heart. And to be able to give some of that back to her, to be able to love this planet the way that we love each other, the way we love our pets and our children. Gosh, you know, we'd have a really different place if everyone could do that.
Well, too, you consider Earth itself when you made the statement about how powerful love is, that love would have to be the huge common theme of the Earth when you think of just the incredible biodiversity of this planet.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, one thing I was thinking about as you were talking about, for instance, one of the names you brought up was, for instance, Greenpeace. And you think back about Al Gore, and he was talking about global warming in a film titled An Inconvenient Truth. And one of the things that I've been paying attention to, and it seems, and I don't know how it starts or, you know, I guess where you point a finger to, but I found not only interesting but perhaps even alarming in and of itself is that somehow there seems to be whole industries created that may be well-intended, maybe not. You know, I don't know either way. You know, for instance, you take a look at something like cancer. We've talked about this on the program. And it seems to be so common that even when they talk about it, it's almost as though something, you know, go ahead and live with it, you know, but hey, by the way, we've got this Walk for the Cure honoring, you know, cancer survivors and people, you know, who are battling cancer, so forth. Now, this was something that, you know, you go back, say, 30 years, just 30 years ago, which isn't very long, which was one of those rare things that you went, Wow, so that's what this is. This is kind of strange to me. And I guess the point I'm getting at is they've turned it into a profit-making industry. Okay, somebody has.
Yeah.
And I find the same thing going on, and it was really bothering me that at first as you heard about the green movement, all of a sudden businesses were calling themselves sustainable. All of a sudden things were eco-friendly. All of a sudden what I'm doing is green. So putting just those words alone in businesses that before had nothing to do with these practices, all of a sudden was the hip, the right thing, and the socially responsible move to make. And I think in some ways, and certainly elaborate on this, that there is behind these messages of industry a particular fear that perhaps we're dwindling out. And I think that they're taking advantage of that, maybe in some ways. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel that everyone here on the planet is responsible, whether we are the ones running the factories or we are the ones buying the products. We all have a responsibility. That's what I was just talking about, in that individually we have our own karma. As a soul group, as an entire species on the planet, we are also creating karma for this planet. And I do feel that there are good things about these green groups and green movements, and there are things that are not so good, just in the same way that certain industries will produce wonderful things, and those same industries will also create a bunch of pollution, and we've got a problem on the Blah-de-Blah River. One of the biggest things that's really on the table right now is whether or not we're going to continue allowing fracking to go on. And I just read an article yesterday about the potential of the Colorado River being, completely destroyed because of fracking that they're talking about doing in Colorado. And it's
now exactly what is fracking? Is that what you called it?
Fracking, yeah. It's when they go in and get the natural gas. It can destroy entire bodies of water. They've destroyed water in Philadelphia, back east.
Wow.
I mean, an entire community has no water, meaning the water's there, they will never be able to use it again, ever. So they all live in houses like all of us listening to this program. They all have houses, and they have to haul their water from somewhere else. They will never be able to use their water in that town again. Wow. That's how serious this is. And what you were just talking about is, there's people with good intentions. They want to create jobs. They want to create an industry that will give us the resources that we need, and it's here local. We're not shipping it in from some other country. But at what cost? At what cost do we do this for the planet and for our kids, for the future?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I feel a lot of these people who do have perhaps good intentions or not so good intentions are really missing the mark, is they're not thinking about the next 7 generations.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sonja, speaking even of that, when you think about, or you talk about thinking ahead, here's one of the most interesting things that I'm watching play out this day and age, and that is gas prices. Mm-hmm. We've gotten to a point now that we've gotten so concerned with gas prices, especially here in America. Geez, will by summertime gas reach $5 a gallon or better? And I was even asked, do you think that that's going to happen by the summertime? And I said, really doesn't matter. Look at the point that we become so desensitized to what the price is now. It would never go back to what it was before. And even furthermore, don't you see the interesting distraction of being concerned with that gas price without concern of what it really not only is costing the planet itself, but for instance, the place where gas is being refined. I mean, we've overlooked what the real potential root of a problem is. You look at, was it a year and a half, 2 years ago, you got British Petroleum causing all the problems down in the Gulf. God knows how long that damage is going to continue. Then they turn around and they post, well, now we've been profitable. And you think, what kind of madness is going on behind these messages that are coming out at us when there's such great destruction, and then a callous attitude, oh, well, somebody else can worry about that. We're busy trying to, I guess, make money. I mean, where does even that thinking change? How is it possible?
Well, I think people kind of flip between two mindsets. One is, as you were saying, being very calloused, and I call that just a really good, strong stance of denial. and the other side of it is fear. And people go from being in extreme fear about what's going to happen in the state of the world, and then they go into, this denial stance as well. And I feel that that we will continue to escalate in all of these things, from gas prices to, the environment, global warming. I mean, this is why I wrote this book. This is a way for people to reconnect with the earth, because we are getting so far from the very environment that gives us life. Mm-hmm. We aren't here if we aren't breathing air, right?
Right.
And I do have I just wanted to read this to you. I have a prayer for fear. And the prayer is, help me, Mother Earth, to release my fears down through my body, down my legs, out my feet, into the ground, down my arms, out my hands, into the ground. Let your energy come back up through my body, grounding my body and nurturing my soul. Let my love fill the spaces where I doubted the universe. Thank you for your endless beauty. For somebody to be having a fearful day and to get up and just read that before they go off to work, is, again, just one more possibility for them to step out of that fear and get grounded. And we have such a huge responsibility, I think, that most people just get overwhelmed. They go to the gas station and see the prices, and boom, there's overwhelm. They turn on the news, and there's something about how the weather is just completely crazy, and tornadoes have just ripped through, the Midwest. And there's that fear again. There's that overwhelm of, oh, my gosh, what's happening? And then there's a whole pocket of people who are completely oblivious to it, and they have no idea that any of this is going on. And it's such varying degrees. And as we move into our future, it will become more and more evident to everyone that it is truly this planet that is keeping us alive, and that if we don't take care of her, we will not continue. Mm-hmm. So I feel that it is the critical hour, and that we all need to get back to the earth, and I mean that wholeheartedly. And I have so many people who come to me that are, I'm Catholic, I'm Methodist, I'm Jewish, I'm Hindu, I'm, whatever religion they come from, and I don't feel the connection that I need. I just want to be connected to the earth. I go on hikes. That's my religion. I camp. I want to be closer to nature. Again, another reason to not disconnect necessarily from one's religion, but to be able to add to it and say, okay, I'm going to reconnect with the earth now. Because we really have gone way up into our heads. We've completely forgotten our feet.
I couldn't agree with you more. The book is Earthways. Our guest joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program, Sonja Grace. Now, I felt that it was pretty interesting that you actually read your meditation or prayer on fear, because as I introduced you earlier in the program, the thing that I said is that you were a spiritual intuitive. Mm-hmm. And you picked up on exactly why I was bringing up these industries, such as the fuel prices and all that, and you launched right into my intention. So see, folks, she picks up on these things. So if you're doing anything you shouldn't be doing, on the other side of this as you're listening, she's going to pick up on it, I promise you here. Now, what's really important about your work is that you are somebody who has decided to live your life with passion through these gifts that you have. And people could be amazed by the possibilities of what you're able to do as a spiritual intuitive, as a mystic healer, an energy healer. There's a whole gamut of things you can do. But what's wonderful is, and I'm sure that you'll agree with this and elaborate a little bit on it, we all have that gift within us to do many of the same things that you do from connecting through the earth. Is that possible?
I feel that it is very possible, and there are varying degrees of it.
Sure.
We all have an intuition, okay? We all have intuition. We all have a brain. We all have the ability to look at our pipes under our sink and contemplate, am I going to fix that leak or am I going to call a plumber?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the varying degrees is, yes, by everyone having intuition and connecting with the earth, there are many things that will come, just like your friend who hugged the tree and said, wow, I feel like the tree was talking to me. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, those things can happen. You know, the things that I do and what I'm able to do as a healer and clearing karma and going in and working on people long distance, you know, that may be a stretch. I don't know many people who can do what I do, but I do feel that people need to be empowered by reconnecting with what I call their inner compass, that a lot of us growing up in dysfunctional families, that compass gets broken. We're told, no, you aren't feeling this. No, that's not what's going on. And yet your feeling system inside your body is saying, no, this is what I'm feeling. And when we're told many, many times that's not what you're feeling, the compass gets broken. It gets sort of like off. And so people need to reconnect to that inner compass and really reconnect with what their true north is, so that they're able to feel their feelings, and then that whole inside intuitive place comes alive again. And by connecting with the earth, then all of that connection happens with that inner system.
You know, you mentioned something that occurred to me, and that is creating space, creating time. And technology has been one of these systems, in a way, that was created by man to be able to make things a little easier. For instance, before we used to toil the soil with our own hands, or we used to pull, a tool behind ox or horse. And then we invented the tractor. Boy, that really kind of reduced, a lot of the labor down to where it became a lot easier to farm. And, nowadays, rather than digging through a 3-foot-long card catalog, you can go to the library and type up the title or word reference for your favorite book, therefore saving a whole lot of time. Now, with technology's invention and the belief that we've created more space for possibly more leisure to enjoy more time to ourselves, I find it fascinating that we have somehow created a vacuum, that now that the space is emptied, it has now been filled by more, in many cases, nonsensical things that really have little to do, in a lot of cases, with our own happiness and the pursuit of our spiritual divine being. That's quite interesting how that happens. Talk about how people can turn that around. I know you just touched on that, but deeper ways they can go about this.
Well, I see it a lot with parents. It's much easier to throw the kids in the car and go to the mall.
I mean, throw them in the car, literally.
Yeah. It's much easier. And it's also inspiring to me when I have parents say, no, we're not going to the mall this weekend. We're actually going on a hike. And as you know, the Portland area has some beautiful places to hike, and I'm really impressed with parents who do that. I know I grew up with parents who insisted that we go camping all the time, and I grew up camping all over the state of Oregon and the Wallowa Mountains, and I feel really blessed to have had that experience, because this is something that brings, families together. It's something that's really a fun activity. It doesn't cost a lot, and you get a chance to be with the earth. We are extremely distracted, you're right, Dan, and I feel we have the ability to turn that around. It's simply changing habits. Are we going to walk over and turn the TV on, or are we going to walk outside and watch the sunset? Mm-hmm. It's changing habits, and we have become so desensitized, as you said earlier, that we are no longer remembering that the simple things, that just feeling the space in the air when you're sitting in silence or hearing the sound of the birds outside is incredible. I mean, those are incredible things to experience, but most people aren't connected on that level. Most people want to rush and pick up their iPhone and check for messages while they're running to the store, and they're doing 10 things at the same time.
I find it fascinating, too, that as you go out there in this world, it seems that these things have almost literally grown into people's hands.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they have.
And I don't know what it is that alarms me or bothers me a lot about that, but I remember there was a time that I thought I would save a little bit of money by having a cellular phone, and I found myself doing those same things. Did I get a message? I'm checking for messages. What did I miss? Blah, 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 just playing around with this. This is nuts. I got rid of it.
So in light of all this technology and in light of what's happening on the planet, the way that people can really help themselves and help the planet, their contribution is to really feel their hearts opening up and feel their love going down deep into the earth and filling all of those spaces in the earth that are diseased or have pain or are cracked or, anything that is in the earth. And I'm talking all the way to see your heart energy radiating clear to the other side of the planet, filling up the whole planet. That's a huge contribution on an energy level. And our beings as souls, which are energy bodies, are, our natural state of being. And to be able to contribute that energy to the earth, to take care of her in this way, will absolutely make a difference. And for people to keep their energy levels up, to stay on a higher note, listen to your favorite music, meditate, do yoga, exercise. This is what we were talking about. Yes, the tractor came into play, and we, invented things through technology to help us. But back in the day when we did things by hand, it actually was the very exercise of it that was raising our vibration and raising our energy. So don't be afraid to get outside and do some work by hand and to really feel that energy. I know that when I go home to my husband's village out on the Hopi Reservation, we carry the water in buckets. That's how we get water. There is no running water.
Mm-hmm.
And we carry the water for a long ways, and it's heavy. And every time I carry it, I think, my gosh, I'm not strong enough to carry this bucket. But I do. And you do these things because they have to be done. And I feel that people can contribute through their own energy and their own intention of prayer. Thus, my book.
I agree with you. You got prayers and ceremonies now. One of the things that we've been touching on is that a lot of times people have taken the stance, I'm too busy so I don't have time to participate. I'm too busy so I don't have time to meditate. I'm too busy so I don't have time to give thanks to all the wonderful things that I have. And I say, well, I'm trying to tell you here, folks, Sonja Grace is a pretty perceptive spiritual healer and intuitive. So, again, if you're doing something you shouldn't be, on the other side of this program as you're listening, she'll pick up on it. And believe me, you don't want her sending you a note saying, I know what you did. Would you like me to tell your wife? Anyway. But here's the thing, getting back to time. So I don't have time is what you may hear people say, to do a little ceremony for your home, which you actually have one of those in Earthways books. So this is the trickery. So I'm gonna lay this on the listeners here. So you really don't have time, really. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. Earthways. This is a prayer for the shower, folks. Don't tell me you don't have time for a prayer while you're in the shower. Tell us about that one.
Well, I feel that it's honoring the water, and it's being able to address the people, just as you were discussing, who are too busy for just about everything. It's a way for them to have their own ritual and their own moment of honoring that water. and really in every glass of water that we take out of our sinks, and that we get water everywhere, every part of our day, we really would do ourselves and the planet a lot of good by giving thanks to that water and the gratitude. You don't know really what water means until you've gone without water.
Oh, yes, exactly.
And I really feel for the people who have gone through such major destruction. There were just huge tornadoes that just hit Texas, I think, yesterday. And I feel so sad for those people and for anywhere in the world where there's been these types of natural disasters, because it's in those times, in those moments, that people realize what they really do have and what they had. And it's sad to me that we have to experience loss to understand really what we are so wealthy in. And I feel, again, that if we take the time to learn how to meditate, I have a CD, Angels in the 21st Century, that's got relaxations, and my grounding meditation is also on the CD. To be able to sit and meditate and understand what that means. And this year, of all years, 2012, is to take the meditation into practice, where we're walking and we're literally doing a walking meditation. I encourage people to at least learn a little bit about meditation before they actually start doing a walking meditation. But that is another way for this very busy world that we live in to take their spiritual practice into that busyness of that world and take each step from a place of a spiritual intent. Because if we don't go to that place, we're going to really have a difficult time. We're transitioning into a 5-dimensional realm, and this transition is really important for people to be mindful, not only of the earth and your energy, but how you're connecting to that energy.
What I like too, Sonja, about your book Earthways is that there may be other books out there, and I always applaud and give respect for people who take the time to produce wonderful work that actually can vibrate with people to not only have an impact on their lives personally, which is the starting place for change. If you want to change the world, it always starts with you. It always starts with your personal actions and what you do. But with your book, as you don't go into these long dialogues that try to get lofty, to see just how spiritual you can sound, to see how natural you can sound. Yours are actually really very basic and very fast. And one of the ones that I would like to share with the listeners out there, actually I'd like to have you share with it, as you have a wonderful resonating golden voice, is the Ceremony to Recreate Your Life. And I looked at this particular one, and I thought there is such simplicity, but it has such a profoundness to it, just in its practice. And it goes back to us talking about how people simply don't believe they have the time. This particular ceremony, the Ceremony to Recreate Your Life, is not only very simple, but it's also something that I know will deeply resonate with everyone, I would think. Do you have that in front of you?
I'm actually not. Oh, here it is. Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead and read what the Ceremony to Recreate Your Life is, because that's what Earth Day is about. It's to pay honor from where you are and to move forward to where you want to be.
Make a list of what you want. Keep it basic. If you need details, then make them simple. Take your list outside to a favorite tree and stand facing the tree. Feel the energy of the earth coming up into your feet, legs, and body. Feel the universe's energy coming down through the top of your head. Announce to the tree, the earth, and the universe what your list holds. Offer this list to the universe by wrapping it in a cloth and putting it in the earth, under a rock or inside the tree. Ask that your desire to create your life anew be in accordance with the will of the goddess and the universe, and that what you are asking for is in alignment with your karmic past and your soul's purpose. Thank the earth, the universe, and the tree for hearing your list and your prayer, and feel all of it release from your body so you are not holding on to it anymore. Watch what manifests, and remember, it is the universe that directs, choreographs, and produces our wants, needs, and desires. It is when we think we know what is best for us without looking at our soul's purpose that we get disappointed and feel let down. Stay connected to the path of your soul.
See, now there it is. It's so simple, but if you were to take and transpose that into every self-help thing that's been written out there, every goal manifestation out there, you've used everything there that they tell you to do. You know, you think of a desire, you write it down, and then you release it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just that simple. And then you allow, without thinking, to see how it returns to you.
Right, and the part of it that's so incredible is the spirit that is in that tree is your witness. The spirit that's in the tree is hearing your prayer. The earth is hearing your prayer. The universe, God, the goddess, they're hearing your prayer. This is what's so powerful, and where we've really stepped so far away from those very basic connections.
Now, I think what's fascinating, we brought up trees again. Mm-hmm. and inside of me there was a story that I had just read not too long ago about a person who had this wonderful farm up in Washington. And he said one day he was looking across the farm and noticed that they had a lot of pine trees up in the northwest part of the United States. And he decided, him and his wife would, you know, in ceremony, just as you talk about in your book, to pay respect to these trees, just to say thank you for their beauty, for the shade that they create, and the like. And they went about this ceremony and just really enjoyed these pines that stretched out across their farm. There was a time there was a devastating, I guess, snowstorm that had come across where more than 60 trees had actually broken and were destroyed as a result of this. What they found astounding was that these trees, these pine trees, that they went along to go and clear, and you know, these, some of them 40 to 60 feet tall, as they'd go along the fence, and they found out somehow these trees managed to land along the fence line, the broken ones, where their branches were outstretched in such a way that there was no destruction of the fence. They found that interesting. There was also a chicken coop, a small little building out there, where the same thing had happened. This large tree had fallen sort of away from this thing in such a way that it understood that that could destroy something that might have been vital for this person and their family's life. Each of these trees that were destroyed managed to land in such ways that there was no destruction on a consistent basis. So we're talking about more than 60 trees. Now, I've got to say that you can think about it any way you want to, but it's almost as though these trees were saying, thank you for respecting us. As a result, we're protecting this farm.
Absolutely.
You know, and you can't help but feel that way as you read through Earthways, the ceremonies and the prayers, that if you would just try a little bit of this each day, maybe not every day, but just try it, how you begin to transform, and you'll begin to see things that would just slightly just amaze you.
Yes, absolutely. There's an energy in the earth that was so prevalent at one time. This is a long time ago, and it's kind of gone
back in the olden days.
Yes, it's gone deeper. You know, during the time of the Druids and all of the really ancient practices. It's gone pretty deep into the ground. Occasionally people will connect with this energy and they'll see orbs or, different sort of interesting things. I myself see the Davic realm or the spirits of the plants and the trees, but, they're a lot more, I want to say they're more hidden. They're still there, of course, but they're more hidden. There's a lot of really incredible things that exist here on Earth and within the Earth, and we have that opportunity to connect again with that energy if we take the opportunity and get on it. I fear that the more destruction that we create for the Earth, the more these energies go deeper into the earth to protect themselves. And that's why I encourage everyone to get back to a practice that we have had for lifetimes, hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes. We have practiced really being connected to this planet. And I really want to just be the wake-up call to everyone. Okay, it's time. Let's get back.
Very good. Now, I know that you have a website, and on there, people can actually enjoy having the opportunity to have your weekly guidoscope. Tell us about your website a little bit and this weekly guidoscope.
Well, once a week, I send out what's called the guidoscope, and it's really inspirational messages that are from my guides, and it's a really nice way to have perhaps something that you are focused on or looking at for the week. Also, my website has my book, Earthways, Healing Medicine for the Soul, on it. You can buy the book. My other books and CDs are on there. I have a line of jewelry. Of course, the most important thing is if you want to connect with me and have a reading, you can also do that on my website.
Fascinating work. Earthways is the book. It's Healing Medicine for the Soul. Our guest today, Ms. Sonja Grace. Sonja, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Thank you, Dan.
We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for tuning in. Again, it just takes you to take that simple decision toward a step to making yourself a better person, to be able to give back to a world that's so abundantly given to you. Earthways is the way to do that, Healing Medicine for the Soul. We want to thank you, the listeners out there, also for tuning in. Be sure to visit us at our website, which is Beyond50radio.com. That is the number 50. We do have a free weekly e-newsletter and a blog as well, where we archive this show and many others as well, so that you can listen at your convenience and share with others. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is Beyond 50, and remember, live your day past halfway.